I'm going to take you through, this is what we call a budget at a glance. And again, I'm the chairman, so this is my life. Budgets. Okay, so if I got to be bored, you're going to be bored. But basically, we talk about the first chart here. I talked about property taxes. Property taxes are defined by the millage rate. I send a millage rate, so I get a certain percentage of the value. Each mill is worth $1,000. So you can see, we like to say, well, how Cobb's doing it? Look at DeKalb. Ooh, you were from DeKalb, right? Look at DeKalb, FY11. Look at their millage rate. 21.21 mills. Look, where's Cobb? Our taxes are almost half in DeKalb. What do you get in DeKalb that you don't get in Cobb? If they're spending twice as much as us, I hope you're getting twice the value. I would call CEO Ellis if I were you and ask him that question. So our millage rate, we work hard to keep our taxes down. We're very, very competitive, and that's important, because I'm going to talk about why that competitiveness is important. The next page on the back, oh, by the way, tonight when you're trying to get to sleep, read my letter, and I'll help you get the letter to get to sleep. These are just the population numbers, no big deal. Cobb's unemployment rate, we all know what employment is doing, right? We're still high, but we're lower than some of the other folks in our community. This next one tells you what's happening to Tax Digest. Remember I told you the value of homes helps determine 65 or 55% of my value? You can see this is the home values. We've all heard about it the last 3 years. Home values are down, everything's tanked. This just puts it in a nice little graph for you. Then you go to this one, and this will give you an explanation so that when you go back to DeKalb and you were talking to CEO Ellis, you can explain to him what property tax is and why that is, because they'll tell you all about how that works. And it's interesting that where the Board of Education in Cobb County, the Board of Education, if you look at this chart down here, 62% of your home residential taxes go to the Board of Education. 37% comes to me. The state gets 1%. So the majority, almost 2/3 of your taxes in Cobb County, if you're a home resident, goes to the school system. But I'm the one that gets blamed for high taxes. Something wrong with that story. This expenditures and revenues talks about where we go, how we spend it, where we go, and you see all the things we do in terms of where we get our revenues from, and then where our expenditures are from. You can see we are a service organization. If you look at the general fund expenditures, personal services is $231 million out of our $321 million for the general fund. So people is my biggest expense, taking care of everything we have in the government. And this kind of just breaks up a dollar for every dollar where your money goes, which I think is interesting. And then this is the overall budget. And you know, for you guys to get into this, you're really going to have a slow Friday night. And then we have I talked about water. We're responsible for getting the water to you. But we buy water from Cobb Area Water Authority, which I sit on. But we also treat the water. And it's very important that there's when 9/11 happened, and it was clear that we could be attacked on our own soil, we looked at all our vulnerable places. One of the most vulnerable places in the country that could devastate a community very, very easily was all of the material that was being used in all the sewage treatment plants across the country. And we have at least 4 or 5 of them here in Cobb County that had stockpiles of chemicals and material to clean water that just a little bit of a pickup with a bomb could have devastated all of East Cobb. So we had to change a lot of technology in terms of how we clean water to make it less vulnerable to those attacks. But I mentioned it to you, we take water out of the Chattahoochee, and this is just for you clean guys. We take water out of the Chattahoochee, we take it out of Lake Allatoona. That's where it's taken out. It comes in your home. We recover about 98% of every drop, believe it or not. And that's because we take care of our infrastructure. and it goes into the sewer stream, and we put it back into the water, back into the, about 95 to 97% of it goes back into the river or the lake, cleaner than we took it out, and at a pristine temperature so that the fishies aren't affected by it. And that costs money. So that's why this, if you look at this water fund, why there's so much money associated with that. And then you have all these other public safety, public protection that I talked about. The court services. And then our GL debt. Our GL debt is our basic, those are money we borrow that we have to pay back, just like your credit card or your mortgage, not your credit card, your mortgage or your car loan. Look at this picture. See that picture up there? It's on page, it's a page up here. This is a tunnel cutter. We are in the middle of our second sewage holding tunnel at about 100, 300 feet, I forget exactly how many feet, 150 feet, ranging from 150 to 400 feet below the surface, and it's 27 feet in diameter. And so we're making this tunnel 100 feet underneath the earth, leading into 2 different sewage treatments, because it's cheaper. We don't use our sewage treatment plants at 100% capacity 100% of the time. Who's heard the joke about when's the busiest time for a sewage treatment manager? Right after the second quarter of the Super Bowl. You know, what I'm saying is you gotta have enough capacity for your maximum, just like any kind of, you gotta have enough capacity for your manufacturing. We gotta have enough capacity for peak times. We don't use that peak time all the time. But what we've discovered is cheaper to dig a tunnel underneath Cobb County, and like I said, we have 2 of them, than to build a new treatment plant. So what happens is we store sewer water in here, and while you are sleeping, we're treating the water that came into that tunnel during the day. So we're using it like a huge storage tank of sewer water, and it's lined with concrete, so for you guys that are gonna freak out about it leaking into the environment, that's not happening. It's lined with concrete, it's inspected frequently. Imagine how would you like that job? I'm the guy that goes down to the sewer tunnel and inspects it to make sure there's no cracks in the concrete. Hey, it's a career for everybody, I'm telling you. But my point is that about 5 years ago, we made a decision that we, you know, and this, you can have this in life. The typical solution is to build more. But what's the out-of-the-box solution? Well, outside the box solution is building 2 tunnels to store it so we can use our existing systems and not incur this additional cost. So I thought that was pretty phenomenal. And then we talk about our capital budget, and that's the end of it. So if you ever want to have a real understanding of what I do, this is my puppy. But there's a couple other things I'm doing as chairman that I want to tell you about. Economic development, jobs, jobs, jobs. You heard David Connell come in and he talked about the competitive edge, which is one of my initiatives, which how do we get economic development? Now what is economic? What do you think economic development is? Anybody have a guess what economic development is? Why it's important?
Something to bring more revenue back into the county.
Absolutely. And the way we go about doing that is we grow businesses. How many have heard of, well, I hope I don't offend anybody. Anyone here part of an Occupy group? Right. Have they contributed anything to the economy? You know about homeowners groups, right? Have they contributed anything to the economy? The only people that contribute to the economy are the workers that work at businesses and the people that invest in them. That contributes to the economy. My goal is to help existing businesses grow so they can hire more people, so you can go after the quality of life you like, to recruit new businesses, to expand my employment opportunities, and to help develop programs that bring revenue to the county. Now, economic development, in my mind, you know that tourism is our number one product. We bring in more money in Cobb County under tourism. So that's all the people coming here for all the baseball tournaments that we have, the Six Flags, Whitewaters, those kind of conventions. They bring in more money than any other source. Now we have to sell ourselves. So David probably talked about how we're going after segments We don't want to go after manufacturing because number one, we don't have the land. Number two, we don't have the workforce.